a woman tried to pin a pregnancy on me, and I had to prove it was impossible while she pushed it into official channels. Please sit down, Mr. Morris. This is mediation, not a courtroom. I did not agree to be here with him. You filed the case, Miss Parker. You also brought a notarized form. That form is not mine. You cannot say that like it is a fact. It is a fact, and I have the notary copy right here. We can all hear the rain, so let's keep our voices low. If this turns into shouting, I will end the session. I am not shouting, I am terrified. I am done being scared of paperwork. The room smelled like burnt coffee and lemon cleaner. Rain ticked the window in fast little taps. On the table, my clear plastic evidence pouch held a pale blue page with a notary stamp that would change everything. I'm Jake Morris, 33. I fix locks for apartment buildings and small shops. I've always thought a good lock is not about fear. It is about clear boundaries. 6 weeks earlier, I was eating leftover chili at my kitchen counter when my phone buzzed with an email that made my stomach drop. It came from the county's child support office. The subject line was something like, "Notice of alleged parentage." I clicked it, half sure it was spam. It was not spam. The message said a claim had been opened, and my name was listed as the father of a baby due later that year. It told me to respond by a deadline or a default order could be entered. I read it twice. Then I read it a third time, slower, like reading a bad sign on the highway. The name of the person who filed it was Megan Parker. Megan had never been my girlfriend. She was my cousin's friend who needed a place to land after a messy breakup. About a year earlier, my cousin asked if Megan could rent my spare room for a couple months. I said yes because I thought I was helping. I also said yes because I hate empty rooms. Empty rooms echo. Megan moved in with 2 suitcases, a pink ceramic mug, and a loud laugh that filled the whole place. She called me Jake the Fixer because I always had a tool belt in the hallway. At first, she was easy to live with. She paid rent on time. She cleaned the sink. She told funny stories about her job at a property office downtown. Then the slow pressure started, like a drip under a cabinet that you keep ignoring. She began to act like my apartment was her apartment. She changed the streaming passwords because they were too long. She invited friends over on weeknights without asking. One guy fell asleep on my couch with his shoes on and left muddy prints across the rug. The first sharp betrayal was small, but it stuck in my mind. I had a rule about my work van. Nobody drives it but me. The van is how I make money. One afternoon I came outside and the van was gone. I found it later in a grocery store parking lot parked crooked. Megan waved from the driver's seat like it was no big deal. She said she had an interview and her car would not start. She said she did not want to wake me up. I told her she crossed a line. I remember how the air smelled like hot asphalt and old fries from the nearby fast food place. She blinked at me and said, "You are acting like I stole it." Then she held up a parking ticket and said I should pay it because the van needs better brakes anyway. That is when my cousin Kelly looked me dead in the eye and said one sentence I could not forget. "You keep unlocking doors for people who never bring their own key." Kelly said it gently, but it hit hard. Still, I tried to keep things calm. I gave Megan 30 days to find another place. She cried. She told me I was throwing her out when she was finally safe. She also told my cousin that I was cold and controlling. Megan moved out 3 weeks later. She took her pink mug. She left behind a box of hair dye under the sink and a weird feeling in my chest, like the air got heavier when she left. I thought that was the end. Then the county email showed up. That night I sat on my couch with the lights off and the screen glowing in my lap. My hands shook, not because I thought I might be a dad. That part was impossible. When I was 19, I got sick in a way I did not expect. It started as what I thought was a normal flu. Then my fever spiked and everything hurt. I ended up in the hospital for days. After that, I had surgery and a long stretch of follow-ups. A doctor told me, clearly and without any soft words, that I would not be able to have children. I was young, stubborn, and more worried about getting back to work than my future. Later, when I was older and calmer, I asked again. Another doctor confirmed it. Same answer. It became one of those private facts I carried around like a key in my pocket. You do not show it to everyone, but you always know it is there. Megan did not know. Why would she? But she also did not need to know to avoid doing this. The next morning, I called a legal aid clinic. The woman who answered had a steady voice that made my breathing slow down. Her name was Alicia Grant. She sounded like she had spent years untangling people's messes. She said, "Jake, the most important thing is to respond. Do not ignore it." I told her I wanted a DNA test and the whole claim was wrong. I did not tell her my medical history yet. I still felt strange saying it out loud to a stranger. Alicia said the county system is not a mind reader. It runs on forms. If someone files a name, the system follows the name until someone proves the name is wrong. That evening, after my shift, I met Alicia in a small office at the clinic. The hallway smelled like copier toner and hand sanitizer. A space heater clicked in the corner like a metronome. She asked me to start from the beginning. I did. When I told her Megan used to live with me, Alicia frowned. She had access, Alicia said. Access to what? I asked. Alicia looked me in the eye. To your mail, your accounts, your routines. Sometimes people do not just lie. They build a whole track for the lie to run on. On the walk home, the wind cut through my jacket. Streetlights made the wet sidewalk shine. I kept thinking about access. That night, the first proof arrived without me hunting for it. It came from my building's resident email list. I was still on it because I did repair work for the landlord sometimes, and the manager liked to blast announcements to everyone. A message popped up with the subject line, "Community help for a new baby." Megan had written it to the entire building. She said she was expecting, the father had abandoned responsibility, and she was hoping neighbors could donate baby items. She listed sizes, brands, even a stroller model. She signed it with her full name and apartment number at her new place across town. At the bottom, she wrote a line that made my face go hot. "Please respect Jake's privacy while he figures himself out." That was communication proof right there, sent to dozens of people. It was not just a claim in a county file anymore. It was a story she was spreading. Alicia told me to save everything, so I printed it. I put the pages into a plain manila folder and wrote the date on the front with a black marker. The next day at work, the money proof hit. My boss, Ron, called me into his office. Ron is not a warm man, but he is fair. His office always smells like sawdust and peppermint gum. He said, "Did you change your direct deposit?" I said no. Ron turned his screen toward me. A request had been submitted through our payroll portal. It was set to split my paycheck, with part of it going to a prepaid card account I did not recognize. The request had my full name, my employee ID, and the last 4 digits of my social security number. It also had a phone number listed for verification. It was Megan's number. My mouth went dry. It felt like my body knew before my brain did. Alicia was right. She had access. Ron canceled the change on the spot. He told me to update my password and add a security question. My hands moved fast on the keyboard, like I was racing a fire. That night, my first retaliation step was simple. I changed every password I could think of. Email, bank, payroll, streaming, even my grocery app. I turned on 2-step codes. I changed the lock on my mailbox. For the first time in years, I slept with my phone on the pillow next to my head. 2 days later, I got the location proof. It came from my rideshare account. Months ago, when Megan lived with me, she used my phone once to order a ride home from a friend's place. I did not think twice about it. I saw the charge, she paid me back, and life moved on. Now, I logged in and saw a list of rides taken that were not mine. Short rides across town, mostly at night. Pickups near her new address. Drop-offs in places that made my stomach twist. One address showed up twice. A small motel by the highway. Another address was a quiet street with big houses. I looked it up and felt my throat tighten. It was the address of Randy Cole, the property manager for Megan's old job. I knew his name because she talked about him like he was some kind of hero. Randy knows everyone. Randy can fix anything. Randy always takes care of me. Landlords, managers, the kind of people who hold keys. I took screenshots of the trip history, then printed the receipts from the rideshare site. Date, time, pickup, drop-off, payment method. I did not know for sure what it meant, but I knew it did not match the story she was telling. Midway through that week, I took the official step Alicia said I needed. I filed a report, first with my bank because I had started seeing small test charges that I did not recognize, then with the police because the payroll attempt had my personal details on it. The officer at the front desk looked tired, but he listened. The station lobby smelled like wet coats and old coffee. He said, "We see this a lot. Keep records. Do not contact her directly if you can avoid it." Alicia helped me draft a formal response to the county. We attached the building email. We attached the payroll portal log Ron printed for me. We attached the rideshare receipts. Then Alicia asked me the question I had been avoiding. "Jake, do you have medical documentation?" I nodded. 2 days later, I picked up my medical records from a clinic across town. The folder was thin but heavy in meaning. It included a doctor's letter that said I could not father children due to my past condition and surgery. It was plain language, signed, dated, and on official letterhead. I held it like it might crack. The calm confrontation happened late that week, and it was the quietest part of the whole storm. Megan texted me first. She wrote, "We need to talk like adults." I did not answer. I forwarded it to Alicia. Alicia suggested a public place with cameras and witnesses, and only if it was needed for clarity. We chose the lobby of my credit union on a weekday morning. Bright lights, hard chairs, a TV playing silent news. Megan arrived in a big sweater and heavy perfume. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. She said, "Why are you doing this to me?" I slid the manila folder across the table, slow, like placing a tool down so nobody gets hurt. Inside was the email she sent to the building list, the payroll request, the rideshare trips, and the doctor's letter. Megan's face went stiff as she flipped pages. She whispered, "You got my email from the building? You sent it to everyone?" I said. Her fingers shook when she reached the doctor's letter. She skimmed it, then snapped her eyes up at me. "That could be fake," she said. Alicia's voice stayed steady. "It can be verified, and the county will verify it." Megan pressed her lips together. Then she leaned in and hissed, "You think you are so smart. You think you can just walk away." I did not raise my voice. I did not even lean forward. I said, "I want you to withdraw the claim." She laughed, but it sounded thin. "And what if I do not?" Alicia pointed at the payroll log. "Then you risk more than losing a case." Megan stood up so fast her chair scraped the tile. Everyone looked. The teller window bell dinged when someone opened a door. Megan walked out without another word. 2 days later, Alicia called me with a new piece of paper that changed the whole shape of the problem. "The county sent over what Megan filed," she said. There was a form attached to the case, a voluntary acknowledgement form, notarized. It had my name tucked in as the father and a signature in the box where mine should be. It was not my signature. I have written my name 1,000 times on invoices and work orders. I know my own hand like I know the feel of a lock turning. This signature was wrong. The letters leaned the wrong way. The J in Jake had a loop I do not make. The notary stamp was real, though. That meant someone watched someone sign something. That pale blue page became the prop that followed me everywhere. Alicia put it in a clear plastic evidence pouch, sealed it, and wrote the date across the top. When she handed it to me, her eyes were calm but serious. "This is not just a lie now," she said. "This is a forged document." Megan did not back down. Instead, she requested mediation like she thought the right room could make the wrong story turn true. That is how I ended up in that mediation center on a rainy Tuesday morning, with bird coffee in the air and my evidence pouch on the table. The mediator was a gray-haired man named Mr. Benson. His tie was slightly crooked. His voice was gentle but firm, like a teacher who has stopped being surprised by kids. Megan sat across from me, shoulders tight. Her hand stayed on her belly like she was guarding it. "Mr. Donahue." Benson asked questions. Megan answered with feelings and big words. She said I emotionally manipulated her. She said I made promises. She said I made promises. She said I changed after she told me. I waited. When Mr. Benson asked for my side. I slid the evidence pouch forward. The plastic made a soft squeak on the table. I explained, step by step, like explaining a broken latch. I said Megan lived with me. I said she had access to my information. I said she tried to change my payroll deposit. I said she used my rideshare account. I said she sent an email to my building calling me the father. Then I handed over the doctor's letter. Megan's eyes flicked over it like it was something disgusting. Mr. Benson read it slowly. The room got very quiet except for the rain and the faint buzz of the overhead lights. Megan said, "Miracles happen." Mr. Benson set the letter down and looked at her. "Medical documentation is not a mood," he said. "It is evidence." Then Alicia placed the notarized form on the table and pointed at the signature. Mr. Benson's eyebrows lifted. "Ms. Parker, did you sign this for him?" Megan's face flushed. She looked toward the door, like she was thinking of running. She said, "He told me I could handle the paperwork." "That is not how signatures work," Mr. Benson said. Here came the complication I did not expect. Megan suddenly turned her anger sideways. She said she had already told people at my job that I was refusing to support my child. She said she had told my landlord I was unstable. She said if I pushed this, she would make sure everyone knew what kind of man I was. I felt my chest tighten. Not fear of her. Fear of the ripple. My work depends on trust. People hand me keys. People let me into their homes. A rumor can be like sand in a lock. It spreads and grinds everything down. Alicia did not react. She just opened another folder. It was the bank's fraud department letter that arrived that morning. It was addressed to me, explaining that my account had multiple suspicious login attempts from a device that was not mine, and that the bank had flagged them after my report. The letter included dates, times, and a location area. The dates matched the nights Megan was still living with me. Mr. Benson read it, then looked at Megan again. "You have threatened this man," he said, "and you have used his identity. That is not a negotiation tactic. That is a legal problem." Megan started crying hard and fast. Her tears looked real, but my stomach stayed steady. I had learned something about locks. A lock does not care if your hands are shaking. It only cares if the key fits. Mr. Benson ended the session. He said he would report the forged document to the county office handling the case. He advised Megan to speak to her own attorney. He advised me to protect myself. In the hallway, Megan hissed my name like it was a curse. I did not answer. That afternoon, with Alicia's help, I made my irreversible choice. I filed for a restraining order, not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted quiet, because I wanted her to stop reaching into my life with dirty hands. The judge granted a temporary order first, then a longer one after another hearing. The court clerk's office smelled like paper and floor wax. The chairs were lined up like a bus station. Megan did not look at me during the hearing. She stared straight ahead, jaw tight. After it was done, I walked out into air that smelled clean after rain. I thought about my job and the way I explain boundaries to tenants when I install new locks. You do not wait until someone breaks in to decide you need a deadbolt. 2 years passed. In the spring, my cousin Kelly called and said Megan had asked about me through a mutual friend. Megan wanted my number. She wanted to clear the air. I stood in my workshop, surrounded by the smell of metal shavings and machine oil. The radio played low in the corner. I looked at the wall of keys, each one labeled. I told Kelly, no. Kelly did not argue. She just said, good. A few more years passed after that. Work got better. Ron retired and I bought a small share of the shop. I trained a new kid named Noah who always asks the right questions. I learned to say no faster. I learned to be kind without handing people the keys to my whole life. I also met Hannah at a neighborhood cafe when she asked me to fix the lock on the back door. She laughed at my dumb jokes. She listened when I talked. She did not push past my lines. She had her own keys. One evening, after closing, we sat in a quiet park with takeout sandwiches. The air smelled like cut grass and warm bread. A dog barked in the distance. The sky was pale orange near the horizon. Hannah asked, "Do you ever think about that time?" I nodded. "Sometimes." She squeezed my hand. "I like who you are now." I looked at the small tool pouch on my belt, the one I carry even off the clock. It felt like a reminder and a promise. A good lock is not about fear. It is about clear boundaries, and I finally learned to keep mine closed. Here's why I handled it the way I did. I used to think staying calm meant staying silent. I thought if I did not make a scene, the problem would shrink on its own. That is not how it works when someone is willing to rewrite your life for their benefit. What saved me was not anger. It was paper. It was dates, records, and small steps taken early. Changing passwords felt boring, but it mattered. Making a report felt dramatic, but it mattered. Asking for a restraining order felt extreme, but it gave me back my sleep. I also learned something harder. Being helpful is not the same as being available to be used. If you are a person who keeps giving people chances, you need to keep your eyes open for who treats your kindness like a tool. If you want more stories like this, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a reminder to protect their peace.